1. Welcome to On the Bench. I am your host for this episode. I almost said hosting correctly, but I did not. Corrected it. Good. Going to be a good episode. I got the energy today. Brendan Sinone. I'm joined by Zach Blostein, Chris Nee. Chris, you a little grumpy, grouchy this morning?
No.
Zach, what do you think on this? Look at the body posture. You've been part of the pre-show festivities.
I think you're trying to instigate him. He was in a good mood before he hopped on.
Okay. All right. Sorry. I will stop instigating. Thank you, Zach, for mentioning that because you would hate for anyone to instigate.
I would never do so. Yeah.
We're well aware. So Florida State won, boys. A little 34-14 win over VT for that. ASS. Solid work all around. A pretty complete game. Kind of reminded me of the Wake Forest game from a few weeks before, where it was a little dicey earlier in the game, but you pulled away, and the other team just made more mistakes than you. You played a clean game and you win. So FSU moves to 5-5 on the season. Bowl eligibility coming, boys? No.
What bowl will they make, and how excited will Chris be to cover it?
Chris, are you doing like a bowl tracker?
No, I'm not. Hell no. I am holding out hope for the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. I'm not actually sure that's definitely still an ACC bowl. I haven't taken the time to check, but if it is, let's go to Boston, boys.
Can we send Brett, producer Brett's in the background shaking his head? Can we send Brett to like UTEP or El Paso if they go to the Sun Bowl?
We'll send him to Juarez and see if he can make it over the border to the game.
All right, so shout out to our sponsors before we go any further. First off, Chattanooga Whiskey, crushing it in the craft distillery game, and just a fantastic product, great value. Their 111 proof being sub $40 in this economy, crazy. They do a really great job with everything. They try a lot of cool experimental stuff. Their baseline stuff's really good. Just give them a try if you haven't yet. If you have, go ahead to your local liquor store and see if they got anything new currently. Their bottle and bond is out for this past fall. I've heard really good things about it, and their bottle and bond's usually a really good release for them. So check them out. Keep supporting them, please. Thank you for the support so far. And then after you have just a healthy pour or two,
The Turner Group.
The Turner Group. Colin and Amy Turner. Sorry, Colin. Do a fantastic. I have it on Do Not Disturb. Oh, I don't. Sorry, Colin. Colin and Amy Turner do an awesome job in the home buy and home selling aspect throughout the state of Florida. Central Florida is where they reside, but they can help you get literally anywhere you want to go. Zach's had a lot of good experience with Colin. 2 thumbs up there in Tallahassee. So seriously, if you're considering entering the market, we've gotten several home purchases, which I know is a big deal through Colin, and everyone's been happy customers so far. He's a good dude, works really hard, very well resourced and connected as well. All right, first place I want to start, guys, with FSU's win this weekend. I've been thinking about it a lot the last day or so. I still don't know entirely how I feel. I guess conflicted would be the way I would describe it. The apathy and disappointment I've felt from covering this team this season does not translate over. It's not reflected by the fan base who attended the game. And that's been the Wake Forest game and the Virginia Tech game now. The attendance has been really, really good for what's a very middling, mediocre product. So I feel like, I don't want to say misjudge things. Maybe the way I feel just isn't indicative of a really larger, data set of people.
I think there's a couple factors there, like as far as attendance goes, right? They were both night games, which I think drives up the attendance more than a noon game or a 3:30 game naturally. One was homecoming, the other was senior night and military appreciation night. So that's not to say that it isn't impressive that FSU fans are continuing to show out.
Real quick, really impressive. I don't want to come off as like that, like
you hate the fans, basically, is what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is I thought it was really impressive that people kept showing up to that, and I think that's a really cool thing, honestly.
Yeah, but it does. There is definitely a split amongst FSU fans, and I don't, I think most FSU fans are still tuning into the games. I know some people are expressing that they feel, more apathetic to the results than ever before. That's kind of been a common sentiment on our message board. But obviously, our message board is full of the most, fanatic of fans, right? The most invested in FSU football when it comes to just how much it consumes, your life week to week.
Yeah,
Just
people
think,
who pay money to get
yeah,
more information about something that they love. Which I pay for Discord for CFB 26, and it was a great investment for me. I can't.
was it? You're like the oldest person in that Discord by like 10 years, by the way.
I like to use really cool young people words like newt.
No one ever uses that. You're the only, I looked in the Discord, you're the only person that's ever used that word. Anyway,
We finally got Chris to smile, and it was at my expense, so that makes sense. Hi, Brett.
I like the Christmas tree, Brett.
He turned it on with a thrust earlier. It was really interesting.
No.
A thrust?
Ever heard of having a button on the ground that you can touch with your foot?
Chris, was it a thrust?
It was a button on the ground that he touched with his foot.
You know what, Chris? If you don't want to be here, get out of here. If you don't want to play along with me, get out. Go. I don't care.
My only thoughts on this subject is that, yes, the attendance is good. The stadium is also now in the mid 60,000, so it's a little different than yesteryear where it would be more in the 80,000s. And the only other idea that I have on it is that, like, yeah, people are going to go. I'm happy people are going. Good for them. I'm not ever going to tell people what to do with their money. I don't feel like the fervor, the fanfare in the stadium, the excitement in the stadium is sort of what that place can produce. Like we saw that for the Alabama game. It was there, and there's some classic instances in the last 15 years we can point to: Oklahoma game, Notre Dame game, so on and so forth, of what that place can be when it's special. It doesn't feel that way on the back half of the season. It feels like a lot of people waiting for the shoe to drop, and then if it turns entertaining, then good, something to cheer for.
Yeah, that's how I would exactly describe it. It's not a outwardly negative crowd. Like they're not going out there looking to, boo any negative play that happens in the game. But also in the games against Virginia Tech and Wake Forest, there really haven't been that many like negative plays to be had. And those other teams have just looked pretty awful against Florida State. So I don't know that we saw, I guess, the entire spectrum of what that crowd could have turned into. But I fully agree, Chris. Like I do think that the crowd was kind of like, it's very cautious, like optimism going into the game compared to like even this season, like what the Bama game was. Like, yes, people were, it seemed like there was like anxiety, and maybe I'm projecting anxiety in the stadium about what the product could look like. But then as soon as they kind of started to believe in what that game turned into, like that crowd was unreal. But then you compare it to like these blowout wins against, these lowly ACC teams, like it's not very similar, even though the crowd is still, full of fans. Like there's definitely a difference there. It's not the same environment.
I just wonder, as we go big picture, and as administration does its calculus for its decision. We've talked about this, that we do think this is like a week to week analysis here, that they are bringing in different, my favorite word, data points, 2 words, every single week, and kind of judging it by what they see. And this is important that people are still showing up and supporting Mike Norvell. Because last year they weren't showing up, right? Like people quit on that specific team, and that was just evidently unlikable group of players that they constructed. This team does play hard, right? Like I think that this is a team, and not to say it's always perfect. We know that, but even the effort, it's not always perfect, but generally it's a team that does play hard, which I find commendable. But last year people checked out on the football program. Willie Taggart, they were checking out on it. We saw it towards the end of Jimbo. There was some apathy settling in. before my time, but Bobby Bowden Wake Forest game is known as a turning point for the way administration thought about the football program that pushed things kind of over the edge with a legendary coach. And that moment hasn't happened this season. And I was frankly, when the statement came out after the Stanford game, I was worried about your remaining home games and what the environment would look like. Fortunately for Florida State, I think part of it is, so people have shown up. That's obviously big. Zach and I were in the stands for the Wake game, and there were some boos early on from the student section, but it was muffled. It wasn't big. People were kind of, I think, on their hands, like kind of waiting for what was next. You played the two worst quarterbacks that you faced at the Power 4 level this year. Like, you've gotten two guys who really just can't throw the football, and so I think that's helped with game flow and just kind of allowed things to you kind of ease into the game and not really worry about another team running up on you or anything like that. So it's kind of masked some things. Big, long story short, like big picture here, I wonder, as you continue to collect data points as admin, the appetite we know is not there to make a change. Like, they don't want it to have to make a change. They will if they feel it necessary. But if you're looking around, you're saying, "Oh, we're still selling out, crowds, we're getting pretty close to it." What is the impetus? Like, what's pushing you to make a move then at that point?
What do you want your football program to be?
We already know that FSU is doing something unprecedented with what they've allowed from a win-loss percentage over the duration of these 6 seasons. So while I understand that, Chris, while I agree with you on that question, I think they've shown us through their actions that the answer is that they're willing to allow a level of mediocrity because of what they think it can be under Mike, in addition, and probably as important, more importantly, a financial obligation there to him and what a buyout would cost in addition to a new staff. It's upwards of $100 million investment there to cover your ass. I'm trying to think about it from the other point of view, guys, because the intel, I know people went into the game thinking something could happen on Sunday. I don't think we subscribe to that being a likely scenario. But the more and more information we got from different sources throughout Saturday and into Sunday morning was not only that we weren't expecting anything on Sunday. It's like I think I've changed my view of what I think will happen at the end of the season. Some of this is contingent on performance, right? If you go and you lose your next two, by double digits, that might change things, which I don't know if that's a great way to be living to the week-to-week results. But I think that there's an allowance of, a pretty middling product, Chris. I don't think that's the driving force in decision making based on what we're hearing and what we've seen play out.
Yeah, the people at the top of the food chain have to make a decision. It's their decision to make. I don't think it's going to be influenced greatly by any outside forces. I think ultimately is those individuals. Now, if the bottom line of ticket sales and stadium and all of that changes, yeah, that influences. But we were also pretty well along in this season in regards to the home schedule.
But we're talking about the future, right? They got
right. I'm just saying I don't think the stadium being filled or being somewhat empty, 10%, say 58,000 on Saturday would have made some dramatic difference. I don't, either which way, I don't think it makes a difference.
So what do you think they're factoring the most?
What they want the football program to be with the financial restraints that they're currently living within. And that's a decision they have to make. They can either decide that should be what it traditionally has been or what it traditionally aspires to be, or they can be willing to live with what it currently is with the hope that it can return to the form that it once was under the head coach it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I agree with any of that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's how they view it. And I have felt that way about it for a while. Do I think there's a threshold point? I do. I've asked that question, not got an answer to it, like a firm answer to it. But I do think there's a threshold where if FSU went out there and laid an egg against a Wake, laid an egg against a VTech, either one at home in a really bad fashion where it went sideways and that team looked like they were SMUing it from last year, Yeah, I think those kind of things change the discussion rapidly because there's a influx of rapid emotion that reinforces the doubts that people have.
So
And
that would be an emotional decision. They're saying they don't want to make an emotional
but
decision.
doubts exist in the minds of everybody involved in this situation.
Sure.
They would
It's
be
just-
lying if they said they didn't.
Yeah, I
The
go
thing
back
is,
to
does it outweigh all the other things that they are considering as the people that operate this business?
Zach, why were you rolling your eyes there?
it go. I not at like
I know it was not Chris. I know.
Yeah, it goes back to the question I presented last podcast. Why do these games matter?
I
We
agree
know-
with you, Zach. I am of the opinion, and I have been since Pitt and certainly since Stanford, that you have to sit back and evaluate what do you want this program to be and what do you have to get it there and who needs to be the leadership of it to get it there. Those are the simple questions. The wins and the losses of the immediate rest of this schedule this year don't matter as much. Would I
But
prefer
it
they have
does.
won? I don't know if it does. I've asked that question. I've not gotten a firm answer that like, oh, if he hits 8 wins, he's guaranteed to be back, which he probably is. Let's be honest. If they went out and won their bowl game, 8 wins, the way this has gone with the fact that they did not do something after Stanford lends itself to, yes, that's probably
But then,
that
you're,
outcome.
but then you're saying that the games do matter.
But if they always matter. Wins and losses always matter. It's a results-based business. We all know that.
I guess my point is that they shouldn't matter, and the fact that they are mattering kind of gives me
They matter
like-
because there wasn't action behind the Stanford loss.
I think what Zach is saying is that the results stopped mattering once you hit a certain threshold. Like Chris, you mentioned a tipping point earlier for
I
like,
agree with Zach.
you
on
guys both. Yeah, I know.
I'm in agreement with Zach on that. I think the program needs to be observed in the sense of where is it going, the leadership it has, what it is, what it can be. Can consistency return to the grasslands of Tallahassee, Florida? My point is, I don't think that's the way it's viewed by the people making a decision regarding this.
Chris has to keep doing this delicate balancing act where he's talking about his opinion and then he's having to talk about what he thinks, is being decided. It's difficult. Brett, when Chris is talking as himself, you type in Chris Nee as his name, and when he starts talking where he thinks administration is, not Chris Nee. Okay, you just keep shifting it back and forth. Help us keep up with it. Don't do that. This is. The results do matter these next 2 games. I think, guys. It's like how I feel. I think it does matter. I don't know if it should. I think we all hit the tipping point where it's like that blended with the recruiting results up to date and understand it could change. It's like we see what we think the most likely trajectory is. It doesn't mean it can't get better. That doesn't mean they can't catch lightning in a bottle. But we're playing odds here and looking at it in that way. These games do matter, though. The next, I'm going to Raleigh this week with the assumption, is it Raleigh or Raleigh?
I've always called it Raleigh, but I'm not one to go to.
But what if it's Cal Raleigh? You do more of a raw than a raw.
Is Cal from Raleigh?
He's from Western Carolina area. His dad used to coach baseball at Western Carolina. His dad actually, I believe, got his jersey retired, I want to say, this weekend at Western Carolina, and Cal was there for the game.
Was he snubbed?
No, but I mean, he had an unbelievable season. I also think catchers deserve more weight for the work they have to put in behind the plate, and he was exquisite behind the plate on the season.
Yeah, so I go up to North Carolina to cover the NC State game on Friday with the assumption like the wins and the losses there, like the results matter for that. They do. I think they do. And I know there's people internally who want Florida State to get to a bowl game and to be able to sell that as progress and taking a step in the right direction. Like the narrative, that's what's going to be interesting is if FSU opens as a 6-point favorite over NC State. So you're growing up there that's thinking they should win, right? Like if you lose, it'll be as it'd be an upset loss. But like the narrative that the seeds are already being planted, I think, are already kind of there for like how you're going to sell it, right? You're going to talk about this being a process of being fixed. I mean, Mike talked about that this past week. He said we're fixing it.
I
doesn't
thought it was
fall.
supposed to be a quick, immediate fix.
It does not fall in line with that, right? But it is also the situation that they're in. The idea that they're in this rush, the administration is in this rush to make a change. Yeah, I don't think exists. It doesn't feel, and they've told us that through their actions consistently, right through the last month, and continue to.
I mean, reporting last Monday was that they are preparing that if a change were to come, that they would be able to do something relatively quick. Like that has been their approach since the Pitt Stanford timeline began. That if they do make a change, they're prepared to do it. It has never been that they intend to make a change and do things quickly.
Okay, so that's the big picture talk. A little bit of the minutia. Let's talk about the game some. 34-14. You're actually a yard per play outgained by Virginia Tech. They were able to run the ball fairly well. The field, by the way, and I think that played to the way Virginia Tech, that allowed them to have some success with the cutting and some of the outside run stuff that they do. But the field was just atrocious. That needs to be remedied ASAP for next year. But Marcellus Hawkins, sorry, I almost said Dawkins. Hawkins has 101 rushing yards. Kyron Jones 79 on the ground. But you played well situationally, right? You were able to force them into long field goals and really don't give up much. Don't let them to cross into the red zone, force a turnover in a key series of events in the third quarter. So the defense, I think, played okay. Still the pass rush, not really what you want it to be. Offensively, it was kind of a grab bag from a personnel standpoint. But you got Duce Robinson. And ultimately, guys, I think that's the big difference in the game is you have Duce Robinson. They don't. Duce was awesome. He continues to be really, really good for Florida State this season. He's on pace to be, by the time the season ends, if this continues the next few weeks, and if they get a bowl game, he'll be pushing for, I think he'll be outside the top 5 for best seasons in Florida State history. He'll be right there as one of the best receiving performances ever. But that was the big difference. Does anyone disagree? I thought the big difference is you had Duce Robinson. That's such a fan thing to say. You had Duce Robinson, they didn't. I think that just changed the complexion of the game. The two teams weren't a whole lot different other than that.
And a couple turnovers.
Yeah.
Everything else offensively felt kind of average. And then you throw Duce's way, and that's where all the explosives came.
Yeah, Tommy talked about having, I think, about a half dozen throws he certainly would wish he had back that weren't good. A couple of those were to McCoy.
Yeah, get Lewayne the ball, man. He's open.
Lewayne's been a bright spot. He only has he had one catch for 9 yards, but yeah.
Hey, speaking of, he walked into the facility yesterday with Wendy's when I was out. Wendy's fries. They're on the come up.
You're embarrassed by that take. That was a bad take.
It was. It was bad.
It was panic. You panicked.
Yeah.
If you could have redone it, what would the fries have been? Chris took the McDonald's fries, the A-game McDonald's fries.
Honestly, I would probably go Chick-fil-A fries.
That's fine. I mean, that's
what would you go?
The Checkers fries. Checkers has elite French fries.
Who goes that's not?
You go there for man. You go there for the French fries and only the French fries. We're just created a scenario in which you're going to 4 different places.
I thought Rizzi and Otto deserved a hat tip for stepping in on the O-line after Pettis got banged up. Pettis came back. Richie Leonard got banged up, only played 15 snaps, did not come back. He was in a boot yesterday. Just add a footnote there. Footnote. I didn't realize I was doing that. Old man happy. Ha ha ha. See, the mood has changed.
I didn't want to acknowledge it, but I was like, oh, that's going to get Chris going.
It was completely unintentional. Pittman's touchdown, hat tip there to that young man.
It was really cool.
They went back to the bucket for that.
On that, yeah, they ran it. Gunnar Hansen basically signaled hey, let's do it again. There was a timeout, a break and play, and they ran back and they did it again. They're like, yeah, we're going to score here. I thought that was a cool moment in the game with the offensive line showing the confidence to be like, yeah, let's keep doing that. It is a good play for them. Randy Pittman in the red zone.
Is Randy Pittman their best running back?
I mean, it's funny how he became the Wildcat guy. Chroma got a lot of burn there in the preseason, from what we understand, as far as practicing it.
They tried it out.
Has become a Pittman down the stretch.
They tried it out in what game?
It was Kent State or Texas East.
Oh yeah, one of those. But it didn't work out well.
It's become Pittman. I'm good with it. I trust Randy with the ball, other than obviously fourth down at Clemson. But
Don't say that. No.
I mean, I feel awful. Like that kid's been super dependable, and he had that moment. Defensively, Mandrell, excellent play. Blake, good job cleaning it up.
5 sacks on the season for Mandrell.
Yeah, it's been excellent. Get ready to pay him.
Yeah.
Um,
And Daryl, because I think you're probably gonna have to pay them. Do you have to pay one more than the other?
It's kind of messed up.
I know.
make them split the difference.
Yeah, maybe you get a discount because he shared, like Mandrell shares some of the money with
So
Daryl.
a Publix BOGO.
What you should do, all right, here, give Daryl a lot more and make Mandrell take a lot less. Maybe like you want to keep playing with your brother, like you're gonna make your brother turn down $1 million a year.
That's really messed up.
Yeah. So Checkers fries, no, they're hot. The apple pie also not bad. Very
Dude,
fried.
why are you going to Checkers so much?
That's on my way home. Okay, they know how crappy their burgers are and how good their fries are because they have a burger you can order where they put the fries on it already for you. They know what they're doing.
I don't think I can remember the last time I've been to Checkers.
Checkers is also called Rallies as well out west. So coming full circle.
I thought Elijah Herring also played well, which might be because VTech's not very good at throwing the ball.
He did play pissed off. I did notice him a lot more. He's very active. And,
He's been one of their higher graded players on PFF the last few weeks.
Who were the highest? Who were some higher graded players, Zach? You did that.
Elijah Herring was number 1 on defense. I think offensively, Tommy, which I thought was interesting because I didn't think Tommy played a great game, but the quarterback skill was also a little bit, I think, skewed.
It is usually the quarterbacks can be rated a lot more. Like if he's in the 70s, that's not fantastic. But
Yeah.
I thought it was important for the offense to be able to find ways to score points when Tommy wasn't hitting on his throws, which he's not. You're going to get up and down play from him as a passer regardless. But he missed like touchdown passes this game a few times, and you still found ways to move the football. And part of that was him running a little bit. He looked as quick as he has at that touchdown where they faked the speed option and he cuts right back in. Like there was a level of explosiveness there that we hadn't seen in a while. So this lingering ankle injury that he's had all season does seem to be getting a little bit better. We'll see if it portends to more confidence in the next few weeks. But I thought that was an important dynamic.
Yeah. Some of the other Duce was number 2 on the offense.
Tommy Castellanos was better than Duce Robinson. Come on.
Yep. Jalen Lucas, Brock Glenn, and then Usman Chroma. Top 5 right there. And then defensively, Elijah Herring, Daniel Lyons, Juice Cryer, Daryl Desir, and Daryl Jackson.
Give Daryl $1 million.
Daryl Jackson got to break the rock after the game.
Daryl Jackson. There was a few times in the game I was like, thank God for Daryl Jackson because the things he was doing to slow down the run inside, like if they didn't have him, I do shut.
Still good.
Yeah, he's always been good. I know, it's fine. What did I want to say about the team? Oh, the running back rotation.
It's weird.
It settled down as it went on in that game, but early on, man, I thought they were just trolling us.
I think they were.
Didn't they have 6 on the first drive?
Because Keziah Holmes senior night.
Oh yeah.
Is that what it was? Maybe.
Usman actually got a good amount of carries for once.
Yeah, a lot of that was in garbage time. But he was the number 2. Yeah, he was declared. Which, like, listen, if you feel comfortable, that's been the more interesting development. Is they keep giving Sam the ball. So they have a level of confidence there that's interesting to me. But yeah, that's your 1-2 punch. Like, I don't think you need Chroma to get 20 carries a game necessarily, but like he has to be an integral part of your game plan each week, and he was this week. So it's weird. There's still substitution issues. That's the second time I've observed at a home game in as many games where he started to run on the field, had to get called back. So like there's still.
I feel like my image of Usman Chroma in my head is him just running on and off the field over and over again.
Chris asked during the game, do we think the running backs get more tired running on and off the field so much?
I think that's a fair point.
Do you remember the 2019 game against Boise State where they were like, oh, we're just going to sub guys in on and off constant? And it was the craziest rotations we've ever, like they were literally changing defensive linemen every 2 plays. It was nuts.
Was that Willie?
Yeah, it was Willie.
That was Willie to find that day. Like
that was Willie in his finest. Yeah. Then he went and blamed the
The water.
hydration and drank the water while he was doing it and literally read a See, this is where in my career I think I've changed a little bit. He read his statement where he went and read back his words, and he's like, now if you think that's me blaming people for hydrate, which he did, he literally blamed people for not being hydrated, the training staff, in his radio show or whatever, and then he came out, reread the statement, and then I think that Zach is gaslighting because he acted like he didn't say what he said as he read it in front of us. I think that's where now in hindsight I would say I think you did, Willie. Or I'd say it more gently than that. But what are your thoughts on these exact comments? How should we interpret this?
It was a dark time for FSU football.
What's funny,
dude.
Chris? What's so funny? The gaslighting? Is Chris frozen?
No,
What if Chris could not move for like a legit 2 minutes and we wouldn't tell? All right, so that's the football game. They won.
also Ethan Pritchard.
Let's talk about that in all seriousness. That was
great to see.
so
Good
cool.
for him, good for Earl, good for the whole family. It blows my mind to think where we were that evening when that news happened. I think Zach called me, or me and Zach were texting. It was like 11:30 at night. Started chasing it. I was actually trying to go to bed early. That is early for me. Horrible night. The fact that there was a thought that he may not survive that evening is just awful to think about for somebody that age, especially in something he had nothing to do with. But yeah, to see him basically 75 days later being as responsive as he is, as involved as he is, as emotionally invested as he is, and seeing the team respond to him, it's great.
Yeah.
Happy for him. And I thought Mike's words after the game about him were poignant.
Yeah, his dad carried the sledgehammer into the game, which I thought was awesome. And then, they honored him on the video board, at one of the breaks, and it was really cool. He got a huge standing ovation from the crowd. It was really, really neat.
His dad told the Associated Press that the goal is he'll return to class, that Ethan will return to classes in January. Just really, really cool. And they are aiming for the goal for him to play football again. Yeah, I don't pretend to know like what that process is going to be like, but the fact that that's even being considered is that's miraculous. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So that was a cool moment in the game. And again, like going full circle, the fan base, the attendance, like give yourselves like why is Brett jumping in? Okay, good job, Brett. Great producing.
You ruined the moment, Brett.
Yeah, Brett. Give yourselves a legit round of applause. Like you deserve like a hat tip for the attendance this season, for the response from last year, like people showing up to games, student section, largely on time, just really good stuff. And I remember I drove in on Saturday evening, and be like, oh, this is going to be like a well attended. You could just tell there was a level of energy that was impressive. So that was really cool, and that's honestly made me reconsider some of my thoughts on where things go the next couple of weeks. I don't know if it should, but it has.
So now you're blaming the fans for if Norvell stays?
The most impactful thing anyone can do to invoke any kind of change or not change, right? Stability is to talk with your wallet. And if people are speaking with it, then so sure, yes, Zach, I'm blaming the people. If everyone's okay, if they're okay with it and they believe that this product will continue, then sure. I don't know. Everyone's going to agree with it's one thing.
So you just applauded them, but then now you're blaming them. Gotcha.
I looked up the bowl tie-ins for the league. So the ACC is now tied to the LA Bowl, hosted by Gronk in Los Angeles on Saturday, December 13th.
No, that's not awful. All right, Chris,
that may be the kickoff of bowl season. That feels super early.
I'm calling dibs.
How cheap is it to sponsor a bowl game now? That's nuts. It was just Gronk and whatever, corporation.
The Weed Whacker wasn't available. Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa on Friday, December 19th. I know we
never get a chance. Like that's whenever there's bowls, people start doing bowl scenarios. Like Gasparilla always gets eliminated. It'll just be easy.
Saturday, December 27th is like the day of the ACC. You got the Go Bowling Military Bowl in Washington, D.C. You'll probably face a Navy or Army or an Air Force in that one, if I had to guess. Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl in the Bronx at noon on ABC. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl for Brett in Boston at 2:15 p.m. TC can go for his second MVP trophy of said game. Pop-Tarts Bowl. Miami's already got that one earmarked if they don't make the CFP. 3:30 p.m. on ABC.
Can we laugh at them like complaining about getting snubbed as like a 2-loss 8 like
Best thing for them is that Notre Dame keeps winning. Gator Bowl in Jacksonville is also that day, that evening, and then a break for a couple days. Monday, December 29th, Birmingham Bowl, followed by the Alamo Bowl the next day in San Antonio. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, with maybe the best host committee in all of bowl land, is 2 p.m. on New Year's Eve. So we can send Brett to Mexico on New Year's Eve. That will turn out great. Las Vegas Bowl, which I didn't know we had a bowl in Las Vegas. The SRS distribution. I wonder if it's actually still even sponsored by these.
Why does Chris want to keep sending us to Mexico?
I just want to send Brett to Mexico. I think it would.
Why do you want to send Brett to Mexico?
I just think it would be a hell of an adventure. I mean, he should really document it. Do it for his YouTube channel. Duke's Mayo Bowl, which, sadly, South Carolina won't even make that after thinking they were a playoff team this year.
Did you guys see? Was it AI Shane Beamer doing the like "Let's get pumped" thing to the crowd
At
leaving
halftime?
I'm
I think
pretty-
it's real.
arms are like this is something I would do. Isn't he supposed to be like a leader of like athletes? Like I think I could do it better than him.
That's what you did at the weight game.
I was getting pumped up.
Yeah, what a disaster. I mean, talk about that's like worse than the choke at Doak. They lost the game.
Never mind.
Oh God.
I'm gonna go refill my coffee real
I think
quick.
I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, let's keep going.
How did this devolve into Chris just naming every single bowl game?
Because he asked me early on about what bowls FSU may go to, and I haven't really paid attention to bowls this year, to be perfectly honest. But I didn't know what the ACC tie-ins were, because some of them do change year to year. Most of them have multi-year agreements, but yeah.
Recruiting.
How was that this weekend, Zach?
It was so fun. There were 6 official visitors on campus. I actually got to stand outside of the new facility and bake in the sun there on Sunday. Pretty cool facility. I didn't get to tour it or anything, but just seeing it and hearing what the recruits said.
You enjoyed the puffs of air conditioning as the doors opened once in a while.
It's pretty neat. But yeah, so 6 OVs. One was the tight end commit, Corbin Fordham. He's locked in.
Are you allowed to be in the around the new facility since it's private property?
I wasn't kicked out, and I saw a bunch of staffers there, so I think I'm chilling.
Go ahead, Zach. You were rolling before you were interrupted so rudely.
I thought it was a really poignant talking point.
Multiple edge rushers on campus. Jalen Anderson is a JUCO edge rusher. So is Joshua Warren Jr. And then they had Cameron Wilson, who's a Syracuse commit that FSU's been involved with for a long time. Of the 3, I think FSU's in the best spot right now for Jalen Anderson. I think they could get a commitment from him in the near future. And then Josh Warren, I'm less confident, I guess. I think that FSU would probably just fill up on spots, either landing Anderson and potentially Cameron Wilson. I don't think they would take both of the JUCO edge rushers as of now, but we'll see kind of how things go. And then Jordan Crutchfield is a Kentucky defensive back commit who FSU is pitching on playing like corner or I guess rover safety is what he mentioned. I think that's probably where he fits in best at the next level. Lengthy DB at a Vero Beach high school. He's kind of like, I'm going to write about it here soon, but when we talked to him, he was like, I asked him like where FSU stands. He's like, really like FSU. And he said, very likely. I don't know if that means very likely to flip. That's also the same thing that Quantavious Wiggins did in his interview after the FSU OV a few weeks ago.
Wisconsin's not in this one though, right?
Yeah.
Jordan down with Madtown.
He is just considering it's a Mark Stoops versus Mike Norvell battle. And I don't get the sense that he wants to stick with Kentucky. But I also don't know all of the like financial details to that recruitment, because obviously that's an important component. But FSU, he basically said that he was just waiting on FSU to open a spot at defensive back, and they lost 2 commitments in the last few weeks at that position group. So like he referenced that specifically as to why he visited FSU. And
he had been here a few times over. I know.
Yeah,
I think most recently he was here in March and during the spring. Yeah. So
Yeah, he's a guy they've always kind of kept warm, but it turned up the heat because they like his senior film, and they also lost 2 DBs as of late. I'm forgetting one.
Let's see. You talked about Jalen and Josh. You talked about Cameron Wilson. You talked about
Amari
Jordan
Thomas.
Crutchfield, Corbin Fordham. So Isaiah Williams is who.
Yeah,
Oh.
Isaiah Williams. He's
How can you forget about Isaiah Williams? That man has kept himself in many a news cycle.
4-star linebacker. He is what they're supposed to look like. Like,
yeah,
that is the type of linebacker prospect that FSU has not signed in a long time. Obviously, there is a caveat. He's coming off an ACL injury surgery, so like it's not like you're signing him and he's played his entire senior year. He missed the entire year. He will not be fully healthy and ready to like do everything on the football field until the summertime. So he'll get some work in the spring. He's locked in. I think that he himself very much wants to end up at FSU. I think his camp is probably going to do due diligence when it comes to
my God.
When it comes to the potential of a head coaching change in Tallahassee, I think, but not in the sense that I don't get the idea that he's going to start taking visits elsewhere here in the next few weeks before signing day. But I do think that if like news breaks that Norvell is gone before signing day, like they're probably going to at the very least communicate with new schools and potentially wait out like what FSU does as head coach, which I think obviously makes sense if you're going to go sign up to play for a school and you don't know who the coach is or whether they are going to prioritize keeping you, which I think they will, obviously in his case. But yeah, everything that that he said during the interview and everything I've heard behind the scenes suggests that he's locked in and plans to sign with FSU in December. And then quickly on 2 unofficial visitors, Amari Thomas is the running back that I mentioned last week that I expected in this weekend. South Carolina commit, former FSU commit who flipped to South Carolina before the season. FSU's like, from what I've heard, he's basically showed a ton of interest in Florida State this fall, like expressing interest in potentially rejoining the class. I think FSU is a little bit hesitant for several weeks there, especially since they were courting Quantavious Wiggins at running back. But since that recruitment went Wisconsin's way, I do think that FSU is more open now, voice crack, to bringing in.
Emotional over that?
Yeah, I guess so. Amari Thomas, I think is trending towards flipping back to FSU. I've heard that they are willing to take him back into the class. So yeah, I mean that could be one that we see happen relatively soon. And then Jaden O'Neal, FSU's quarterback.
Real quick, what are your thoughts on that development? Because that's a player that, from a talent standpoint, we all are very. I can speak for all three of us. I think all really high on.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic because I think that he kind of like burned FSU the first time that he flipped to South Carolina with the, obviously like he was committed following FSU's 2-10 season and then flipped to South Carolina and kind of did it in like a semi-disrespectful way, like showing up to FSU's camp with South Carolina gloves on during the summer, taking an OB to FSU that weekend, and then like later flipping to the Gamecocks. Obviously their season has not gone well too. So like I don't know. It's also like what position FSU's in. Like I don't think that they're working with many great options, and they don't have a running back commit. So I think could be some desperation in play. But yeah, I mean on paper I don't love it from like a semantics, like how the recruiting played out to this point. But I mean I think Amari Thomas is a pretty talented player and a guy that probably helps them. But I do think that when you're making these high school evaluations now, you do need to take all of that into account, because we've seen what it looks like when you don't get the full evaluation right when it comes to just not only on the field talent, but also everything surrounding it.
You were going to also talk about Jaden O'Neal.
Yeah, he visited campus. He's locked in. Sound like everything went well. He plans to sign with FSU on December 3rd and then enroll on January 7th. He's had a good senior year, a pretty solid senior year.
Yeah, he missed a couple games due to injury. I think his dad sent me stats recently. I think 2,200 in the regular season was the passing yards.
And like 22 touchdowns and only 2 picks. So
yeah.
What, Brendan?
Was there any indication of why he was so quiet this year? Like just from a
I don't know specifically why, but I do know that there was some. I don't know if this is resolved, but I did hear like midseason that there was some holdup with like his NIL situation in Florida State. Like I think FSU kind of like was firm on what number they wanted to agree to, and I think O'Neill's camp more so. I think he's locked in, but I think his camp was more so trying to negotiate that number up, but I don't think FSU was budging. So it sounds like everything was smooth sailing over the weekend, but I'll check in before signing day to make sure everything's good to go.
What do we think of Florida State's push here with signing day? What, 2 weeks away? 3?
Yeah, I mean, not a ton of difference makers. I'll say that. Like, I don't think that you're really in play for a number of guys. One guy I didn't get to talk to, but he was also on campus. Important to note, Hezzy Kent, the Florida tight end commit. He was back. He's been on campus multiple times this season. A guy that the tight end coach, Chris Thompson, and the assistant Preston Brady have both built a pretty strong relationship with to this point. He's kind of the highest level prospect that FSU's like involved with down the stretch at potentially, flipping. The rest of the guys are just kind of, guys that have potential, but I wouldn't expect, immediate return on that potential, soon after they arrive at FSU. And that's kind of the wheelhouse they're living in to close out the cycle. And there's some good pieces in the class. I'm not, discounting that, but like, I do think that there are some holes still, right? Like I don't think we love the offensive line class overall. I think that losing Jay Timmons in the DB class is a big deal because I think we all are very high on him. Xavier Tiller, the tight end commit, visited Bama over the weekend, so there's still some battles FSU is going to have to try and win. They're going to close out the class with the guys they currently have committed. Karan Maycock visited Texas a few weeks ago. The intel there suggests that he would stick with Florida State as long as Mike Norvell is still the head coach. That's not to say that if they do make a change, the next head coach can't convince him to stay. But I do think that right now he's tied to what happens with Norvell. And I'm sure some other schools are going to come at some of the FSU commits over these next few weeks as the season comes to a close. These will be the final 2 visit weekends coming up that schools can host prospects before they sign in early December.
Cool. Anything else, guys, before we get out of here? How are you feeling post-podcast, Chris? Now that we've kind of gone through things, fleshed things out.
You look so lively now.
Where are you?
I always felt good. You read the room wrong. I did have an extremely joyous moment there in the middle, but yeah.
Brennan, you need to put a smile on your face.
Brett, let's get in here real quick before we get out of here.
Off to Mexico. You ready for that Sun Bowl, buddy?
We'll see you guys in the Mexico Bowl.
He did dress up as a Corona for Halloween.
I'll bring my shirt to Mexico.
What does your trip to Mexico look like? Like, how do you think that would go for you?
Probably play some golf.
Okay.
Make the most of my time there. Have some Coronas, maybe have some tequila.
Okay.
And enjoy a great football game and watch the Noles close out a great season.
Wait, Brett, can we get you to talk about your thoughts on the FSU football program? I really want to see you shake with anger.
We already got it all out a couple weeks ago.
We're not going to do that to Brett.
2-1 since then. We're 2-1 since then, so we're headed in the right direction.
You changed it with your impassioned "What's the point?" speech.
Do you think that was played in the FSU football facility?
Who the hell knows?
All right,
I
let's
mean,
let's read Chris Nee real quick. Brett, you're the Chris Nee whisperer here. Was he in a bad mood, a good mood, or a mild mood to start the podcast?
a mild mood that quickly turned into a great mood.
Okay.
Come on,
I
you
think-
know my
I
bad
think
mood. You know
generally-
what I get like when I'm in a bad mood. I'm cursing to the
Listen,
high heavens. I'm
didn't say you were
unleashing.
in a
I don't
bad
care whose feelings get hurt. I'm a complete and utter you know what when I'm in a bad mood.
I think Chris is generally in a good mood because I think he likes where Luke Laux is taking the basketball program, and that excites him a lot.
Yeah, Tuesday evening they have a home game. They're honoring Leonard Hamilton at halftime. You should attend.
I will not be driving 12 hours for that, but
That was a general. You should attend, not specific to you, son.
You know who would drive 12 hours to that?
Chris.
All right, for Chris Nee, Zach Blostein, Brett Nevitt, I'm Brendan Sonnone. This has been On the Bench. We'll talk to you guys later this week. Goodbye.